Hello YouTube! Usually on this channel I try to remain positive and uplifting, but tonight we're going to do something different. In the spirit of Black Pill channels, I'm going to dive deep into negativity, but not the fake bullshit negativity that these so-called Black Pill individuals like to sell people, which always, very conveniently, absolves the people that watch the video from their own responsibility and always tells them that if their life sucks, it's because of someone else. Tonight, I'm going to tell to you and prove to you that if your life is terrible and you're not happy, it's no one else's fault but yours. And I actually have a list that I gathered through now 3 years of running a YouTube channel and having to deal with people who apparently would rather die and have a shitty ass life than actually take responsibility for once in their existence. And I'm going to read it to you. If any of these actually match with your behavior, guess what? You're not going to make it and it's going to be your fault. Number 1, you constantly wait for things to be perfect to even try. How many of you guys do that? Well, you wait for things to fall perfectly into place before you even give an effort, and when your crazy criteria are not met, you use that as an excuse to not do anything. This is typical, and this is the reason why you never get anything done. It's because you create weird prerequisites for you to even attempt things, and then you wonder why nothing gets done. It's because you justify your passivity with a false sense of perfectionism. That's not perfectionism. Perfectionism is you try it, you make something, and then you never finish it because it's never good enough. You haven't even started. You have nothing to finish, you have yet to even attempt. There is a name for that, and that name is laziness. And you can hide behind your prerequisites all you want. At the end of the day, all of that, the only thing it does is it prevents you from actually taking action. So you're just a dodger. You dodge constantly, but you tell yourself that it's because you want the perfect workout, you want the perfect plan. You understand that this doesn't exist, right? This will never exist. This is why people who overthink underdo and underachieve. You have created in your head this perfect plan that will never come to fruition because the perfect plan is the one that you put into action. You make it up as you go. We've all done that. There's actually un dicton, a saying in French that says that si tu arrives prêt, tu arrives en retard. If you come prepared, you come late. That's true. You will never be prepared. You will never be ready. So just jump in. Well, you won't jump in, of course, because it doesn't fit, again, those silly deadlines and prerequisites that you've created. And this is why you're not going to make it. Number 2, you use external factors to justify skipping the gym or anything in life, in reality, it's always someone else's fault or it's always the situation. Oh, I couldn't do this because it rained, because I underslept, I had homework to do, I was busy on that day, I had more hours to put in for my job. Whose responsibility is that? First and foremost, who are you telling? It always cracks me up when people in my life tell me these things, like, why do I give a fuck? Right? Do you know why you tell other people why you don't achieve things? It's to make yourself feel better. You're telling yourself. You're telling your own disappointed self why you couldn't actually achieve something. No one in your life cares. All of that is just excuses, and you're trying to soothe yourself by telling people around you that is a big problem. Shut your mouth. Actually look at your life and get shit done. Oh, you couldn't go to the gym because you had homework to do? Did the homework just materialize out of thin air? No, you knew you had that homework to do, so you procrastinated, and now you can go to the gym. You did that. It's not the circumstances. You create the circumstances. And I'm even suspicious of some of you guys that I think wait for the last second to get shit done so that you have an excuse to dodge the gym or to dodge hard work. Look at the rain, for example. Look at the weather. It's raining so you can go train. Are you kidding me? It's just some rain. It's cold so you can go train. These are not valid reasons. You're utilizing the fact that it's raining outside to explain why you're not going to go train. You created a situation where now you get to not get things done, and you feel better by again telling me that it was out of your control. False, it was in your control. All of that is based entirely on willpower. When I was 16, I woke up at 5 a.m. every day to go sprint in the local park before going to high school. Whether it was raining, snowing, I didn't care. I wanted to become faster. That's what it took. When it was summer, I would go and run in the mountains in the rain. People who would drive by me would call the police, thinking I was going to jump off a cliff because no one would run in that weather. I was in that weather. This is the difference between people who make it and people who don't. I have had the willpower then, I still have the willpower now. Willpower is something that anyone can attain, you just have to actually want it. You just have to get it done. It's as simple as that. Get it done. And the more you get it done, the more you train your willpower, the easier it is afterwards because you teach yourself how to be a winner. When you keep quitting, guess what? You teach yourself how to be a loser because you are ingraining in you the mechanisms of defeat times and times again. So every time you give up, for a bullshit reason that you know is bullshit, keep in mind that you're reinforcing your weakness. So actually look inside that mirror because there is your culprit. There is the guy that is sabotaging your gains. This is where your failures are coming from. Also, stop looking at people around you to explain your failures. Everything you fucked up in your life was because of you. You are a man. It's not always your fault, but it's always your responsibility. Take that to heart and you will have a better life. But until you do that, you will always find reasons to explain why you didn't get shit done. This is very easy, by the way. You could go your entire life without taking responsibility once. It's possible. If you're intellectually dishonest enough, it is doable. But it's not going to make you happy. It's going to turn you into a complete loser. And this is also why you don't stick to things. Many people in my comments ask me, NH, I don't understand. I take breaks all the time. My passion is not there. I don't get it. How do you stick to things? The answer is simple. I'm not a bitch. I want something and I'm going to get it. Until I get it, I'm not going to quit. And because my goal is never ending, I will never quit. It's as simple as that. Relentless. We never quit. Everything that gets in our way is an obstacle we will destroy. We don't even ask ourselves the question, am I going to get blocked? We're going to run through it. You don't even have obstacles. You create them. And when they're there, you don't even have the balls to run into them. You just say, okay, there's an obstacle. So I'm going to stop there, I guess. There's 2 droplets of rain outside. I guess I'm not going to go train. All of this was created by you. It is of your own making. And you don't stick to things because you don't want to stick to things. Maybe one day you'll find something that you want to stick to. If you're on this channel, it should be training. There should be no question that you're going to go train. Number 3, you need to be encouraged to do things that are good for you. You always want people to pat you on the back or to push you forward to get shit done. Newsflash, that person doesn't exist. That person is you. Right? No one in your life is going to be there the entirety of your life, first and foremost. And 2, no one wants to have to always push you. You're not a toddler anymore. That's what we do with little kids. Because you have to create some motivation, so you give them like a candy to motivate them. But you're not that anymore. It's like if you had the choice between finding a source of warmth outside of you or finding one inside. What is better, an undying fire in your heart or one that you're going to have to constantly fuel outside of you with wood? Well, you understand that if you run out of wood, you're shit out of luck. Wood is the people around you that serves as these motivation sources that push you forward. Once they stop being there, you stop. Again, times and times again, I've met people like this, where if I was with them to baby them and take them under my wing, they would train. The second I would disappear, they disappeared. These people never made it and they're never going to make it. I went to the gym with these people and I saw them come and go. Too many to count. I was still there. I was the one counting. I was counting the corpses of the people that came for 2 months, super motivated. Then the second that motivation died down, they disappeared. 99% of the time, this is what life is. As I said, most of your gains or accomplishments you will achieve alone, by yourself, for yourself. That's my life. In the gym, there's no one with me. I'm by myself in the gym. That's also your problem. How many of you can't train if you can't go to a commercial gym? How many of you can train if you don't have a social interaction in the gym? Why are you going to the gym exactly? To make friends? To suck lollipops with your boyfriends? This is not what you got into the gym for. You got into the gym to work. If you get motivated by having a crew or having people to train with, that's fine. But understand that this is feeble. It's not going to be the case always. What happens if there's another lockdown for 2 months and you're going to have to train by yourself with rings? You don't train? How many of you didn't train during the pandemic? How many of you used those 2 years as an excuse to not train? And then you say, what? Oh, it's everyone stopped training. Yeah, All of the cowards and losers stopped. Every single person that I know that were motivated, they still trained. You don't have an excuse. You stopped training because you are not motivated, and that is it. It starts and ends there, regardless of the situation. If tomorrow there was an apocalypse and it's the end of the world, would you still train? I know I would. That's all that you need to know right there. Regardless of the external factors, I have decided that for the rest of my life, I will train to become my best. Once you make that decision, life is very easy. If you never make that decision, you're never going to make it because you'll always want someone else to push you forward, the world around you to push you forward, and the world and people have better things to do than to push you forward, and therefore you're never going to actually achieve anything. And that's because you refuse to be responsible for your own happiness. Understand again that it's like fat people who, again, need to be patted on the back when they lost 2 pounds, when they're 500 pounds. It's your life, right? It's the same on this channel. I will put in my precious time to help you for free, but you have got to be fucking kidding me if you think that I'm going to get my pennies in a twist if you don't get it done. I don't give a fuck. I only talk to winners. I give you the keys, you open the fucking door. I'm not going to open the door for you. You also want me to drive to your house and like wipe your ass and make you food? This is your life. It's your happiness. No one will take responsibility for that. If you want that happiness, you're going to have to go and fight for it. But many of you will never do that because you're waiting for a savior. You're waiting for someone to take responsibility for you. I think that this is fairly pathetic, but I understand why. It's the way society is set up nowadays. Government is supposed to take care of you. There's always someone that is going to come and save your ass when you're in a bad situation, all of which made you weak, feeble, and dependent on the help of others. But the issue is that in the realm of lifting, that other person doesn't exist. There's not buff Jesus that is going to come down from the skies and lift the weights for you. I cannot lift the weights for you. I can make the best programs in the world, give you the best advice in the world, motivate you like no tomorrow. If you don't make anything with that and you're lazy, it's for nothing. Might as well watch porn. Might as well watch just the wind or like the rain or the moon. It would be time best spent. If you're on this channel and you don't train, unsubscribe. You're wasting your time. Go watch National Geographic or something else because this is what it's supposed to be. This is a catalyst. This is me giving you the weapons to go to war. If you stay home to play rubber ducky, there is no point in this entire thing. And also, I have no interest in being your savior. Keep in mind that this thing, this scenario of the savior can only happen so many times. Every time you fuck up, someone else needs to swoop in and change your situation. But all of that is temporary. If you want permanent happiness, what is the solution? It's to become your own savior. Think back to the kid you used to be and the desperation or the despair you might have faced in situations in childhood where you were completely helpless, and figure out the type of adult that you should have been for that kid to be happy. And now become that adult. This is the way through life. But if you never do that, you'll remain that kid for the rest of your life who's trying to grab the hands of adults around him. You are extremely easy to abuse, and on top of that, you can only stand back up so long until you fall back again. You have to learn how to walk on your own. And then maybe you're going to be of use to people because you'll be able to pick them up. Because so far you're sitting on your ass and you're of no use at all. You just take space and you breathe precious oxygen. So actually make something out of yourself instead of that. But I'm also certain that many of you who are in that situation will never do that because there will need to be a trigger. Right? You're waiting for that light in the sky. You're waiting for that special moment. I spoke about that in the first item of this list. And I'm here to tell you today that that special moment will never occur. I know that in stories it's always the same, and it's becoming very popular nowadays in manga, where there's that magical miracle moment that changes the life of the hero. That's bullshit. It doesn't happen in real life. That moment happens the day you realize it's your responsibility to take care of your own happiness and future. That's that moment. It will not come from anyone else. It won't even come from me. I'm just there to tell you that, but I won't be able to actually feed you that light and actually get you to that moment. It's going to be up to you to find it. Once you find it, the words that I'm saying are going to become an evidence. And yet, before you attain that moment, all of that sounds foreign. It sounds impossible. You think, well, there is no way that a loser like me can transform. Yes, there is a way for you to transform, but it's not going to be through me. It's not going to be through anyone else. The trigger will be you. You will pull the trigger. You are your own trigger. to pull that trigger, you have to look at yourself for what you are, which is a loser. Many people would rather live a life as a loser forever rather than realize that they're one, because their ego can't take it. That's being fragile. That's actual fragility. It's to refuse to recognize your own flaws because it's too much to handle, I guess, to accept that you have them, even though the entire world and yourself know that you're flawed. And that's the reason why you stay flawed. And it's what personal responsibility is. To take responsibility means recognizing that the things that are going bad in your life are your responsibility in the first place. But it's very uncomfortable, and so you're not going to make it. 5, it's the same line, your sources of motivation are external. And this is a key one because the external world exists and has an influence on you, but has very little bearings on your ability to actually perform in life and succeed. I firmly believe that. This means that people who have this tendency of always looking at the external to explain why they are going to do a thing or not do a thing tend to never do the thing. Right? It's not necessarily even a paradox, it's just logical. Of course, you wait for things outside of you to motivate you, and if nothing occurs, you don't do things. Well, most likely, nothing will occur because there's, again, no miracle buff Jesus to motivate you to lift, and so you don't actually go through with this. And this means that your locus of control is external as well. And this is your problem right there. This is the problem of most people who are stuck in that loophole of never taking responsibility. It's because you have come to believe, for a reason or another, that everything that happens to you in life is due to the external. It's external factors. And most of the time, of course, people do that for negative things. So if something good occurs, it's because of you. Of course, it's your free will and responsibility. When it's something bad, you toss it like hot potatoes. Like, oh, it's not my fault. French people have a black belt in this. It's never French people's fault. C'est pas ma faute is the favorite sentence of French people. C'est pas ma faute means it's not my fault. Actually, I think it's the first sentence that most French kids learn. You know what that translates into? It translates into it's not my responsibility, meaning that it's never you. It's always something else. Well, guess what? This is the mindset that makes it so that the situation reoccurs and that your life tumbles out of control. Is because you refuse to grab responsibility. So of course now it's out of your control. You push it away. Now you've let external forces decide life for you because you have failed to decide it for yourself. Based on the definition of this psychological difference, it's all based on belief. No human is born with an internal or external locus of control. These are things that you develop in your brain, which also means that you can just switch your belief. Stop believing that it's external, believe that it's internal, and just like this, you fixed your perspective of the world, and you also, by the same token, fix the world. Because this is what this is. Your relationship with the world is based on the way you regard it. If you look at it as a place where forces move you back and forth and you have no say in the matter, guess what? That's what the world is going to be for you, because it's the way you interact with it. But this also makes you a liar. Because there's an issue in that mindset, and that mindset is that it's based on the notion that fate dictates your life, as if things were written, as if it was written in the stars that you are going to be a loser. I don't believe in that for a second. It's because I also don't believe in fate. Look at the type of people that believe in free will, and look at the type of people that don't. Look at people who are black-pilled. Do you want to resemble them? They don't believe in free will. They believe in fate and determinism. And they're fucking losers. Funny how that works. Whereas people who believe in free will believe that it's all about them and hard work, and they tend to have better lives. Because when things happen to them, they say to themselves, okay, it is my responsibility to deal with that. This is always the better approach. So even if it's not true, even if you could prove to me that there is such a thing as fate, it doesn't matter. Because what matters is the way you approach it. Fate and destiny are things and concepts that humans created to put a name on this thing, this obscurity that we call future. You don't know what is going to happen. And those that cannot deal or cope with the uncertainty tell themselves that it's already going to happen a way that has been decided. And most of the time, it turns out that the people who are black-pilled think that it's only going to be negative things. But what if you shifted your perspective? You can still believe in fate, right? If that's what you like, believe in fate. But instead, believe that the things that have been written for you are all positive. Your life is going to be great. It has been decided and written as great. And just like that, it's going to be great. You've embraced a destiny that is made of apathy, or you just wait. You're just waiting for things to happen to you. The boat that's just floating on the ocean with no directions is very likely to crash onto the reefs. Is it because it was its destiny to crash onto the reefs? No, no one was manning the boat. So of course it was going to eventually run into its own demise. This is actually cope. It's a coping mechanism of the human spirit, of your spirit. If you have believed right now that life is not worth living and it's just going to be shit at the end of the day, so might as well do nothing about it and believe that it was always supposed to be shit, it's going to become shit. All of this is just to make you feel better. But by making you feel better, it also ultimately makes you feel worse. It has given you just enough to cope, and that cope is the reason why you're going to have to cope more and more in the future, because your life is going to spiral entirely out of control. And when it comes to that type of lies that spiral out of control, a big one, that's my number 6, is genetics. How many of you have bought into the lie that genetics is everything in bodybuilding? It's everything in lifting, and if you don't have good genetics, you're fucked. That's exactly that. That's the distinction between external and internal locus of control, between the ability to look at fate as something that you have in your control or something that is predetermined. But because many people on YouTube Fitness have come to realize how potent the genetic discussion is, you have a ton of people who describe themselves as brutally honest who like to talk about genetics. And they'll tell you things like, oh, well, you have bad genetics, so you'll never achieve anything in bodybuilding. And you think to yourself, wow, they're so real, they're so honest and raw with me. Finally, someone who is telling me the truth. Is that actually the truth? How does it make you feel? When someone tells you you have bad genetics, does it make you feel bad? I don't think so. I think it makes you feel good. Why? Because it explains why you have such a shit physique. The amount of people who say, well, I have a bad physique, but it's genetics. Is it them being real here, or is it them coping? Looks like cope to me, and this is why these people are doing it. If they were honest with you like I am right now, you wouldn't listen to them because they would make you feel bad. You know what honesty is? It's someone who tells you, hey, you know why you have a shit physique? It's because you don't train hard, you're not consistent, you always put the fault or the blame on someone else, and you're not patient. Your genetics are what they are. What you make with your genetics is what matters, and the interaction that you have with them also is what matters. If you believe that you have good genetics, and you train super hard, guess what? You'll have a better physique than if you never trained. If you take two people, clones, all right, with the same genetics, one of them, you tell them they have good genetics, the other one, they have bad genetics, at the end of 10 years, this is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The first one will have a good physique and therefore good genetics. The second one will have a bad physique and therefore bad genetics. Why? Because of the way they interacted with the wood. The first one, you convinced them that they were going to get great results. So they put in a ton of work and they got great results. The second one thought he was never going to get good results, so he never actually trained and he got no results. Is it any surprise? They're the same guy with the same genetics. What was the difference? It was their mindset. It's the same for you. You might have bought into the idea that you have bad genetics. There is a version of you in an alternate universe that didn't fall for that bullshit and he mugs you. He's twice your size, much stronger, leaner with abs. Why? He actually put in the work. This is the difference. This is the difference in mindset. It was never a difference of genetics. So if you buy into the idea that you have bad genetics, you have let an actual lie turn into a truth. Now you actually do have bad genetics because you never actually trained. This is actually called the Pigment Effect. It's the idea that the way you talk to people about their potential dictates their potential. So if you tell the kid that their ceiling is super high, they're going to get good grades, their ceiling is going to raise because they're going to naturally put in more work because they think they're going to get more results. And you can also do the exact opposite and sabotage someone by telling them that they're going to get shit results, they're going to put in less work, they're going to fall down on themselves and not be confident, and their ceiling is going to go way down, their potential is going to be destroyed. This is a power, but it's a power that only you can decide to use. Most of you have used that power to sabotage yourself. Ain't that a bitch? You keep repeating to yourself that you have bad genetics. You keep repeating to yourself that you are born defect for some reason, and so you have created a situation where this has become a truth. The idea is so ingrained in your brain that even me telling you that will not be enough to actually get you out of the cycle, and this is why you're never going to make it. I like to believe that everyone can be saved. But that's not true because some people will stay bitch-made when it comes to their mindset for the rest of their life. And these are the types that also fall for number 7 on the list, which is to use your previous lack of actions as an excuse to not get involved in your own future. So you bought the nonsense of external locus of control, and now you're going to tell yourself, well, I wasted 10 years, so it's not even worth it. Great job! So now you didn't work in the past, and you're going to use that as an explanation as to why you shouldn't work now. Even if you are not going to get results right now, just out of pride, you should want to put in the work. Just to prove yourself that you can, just to see if you can. How many of you resonate with that shit right now? How many of you have a pride? If you're black belt, you have no pride. You let your pride slide. But I know it's bullshit, and I know that for a fact that people who are black pilled still have an ego. It's why they're black pilled. They're trying to protect the remnants of their ego that could actually be revitalized if they took responsibility for once, if they accepted that the reason why their ego is in that state is because of their own mistakes. But that, again, would take owning up your own mistakes of the past. The more you turn your back to your mistakes, the more mistakes you accumulate, the tougher it is to actually get started. You see that times and times again with people who are old and they say, well, it's too late for me to start lifting, like they're 25, 30. You're going to live until you're 80 something. It's never too late to start lifting. It's never too late to start anything. But this is a known psychological bias. It's the sunken cost fallacy. In a sense, the sunken cost fallacy also works in that regard. Sunken cost fallacy is you invested so much in a person or event that even if you know it's going to be doomed, you're too involved now. You're too deep in, so you're not going to pull out. That's the opposite here, where you never put in the work, and because you never put in the work, you are not willing to put in the work now because you think you should have started in the past. Forget about that shit. That's what I told you at the start. It's never too late to start, and never wait for the perfect moment to start. But I know that number 1 and number 7 is a frightful combo that for many people are going to be just a deadlock. It's going to be enough to keep you inactive for the rest of your life. But keep in mind that, again, these are excuses. These are inventions. Again, it's a perspective. None of that is true. It's never too late. That's what you tell yourself. It's never the wrong moment. That's what you tell yourself. You create these situations where it's not possible for you to act. Because if it's over, then they never have to put in the work. They are that pathetic that they would rather die or they would rather accept spiritual suicide than to actually get up their fat asses and get stuff done. You have no respect for life. You have no gratefulness for the life that you've been given. This is why you can give up on it so easily and shrug your shoulders, because you've never seen its true value, right? Look down. If you have 2 arms that move and 2 legs that move, you are good. You are good to go. You have everything needed to lift. You have everything needed to actually go on and do great things in your life. Anyone who refuses to accept that is not grateful enough. When I was growing up, my mom had a ritual in the morning when I was waking up and I would complain I didn't want to go to school. She would tell me, okay, look up. I looked up and she was like, what do you see? I would say, a roof. She said, okay, look down. What do you see? A bed. Okay, look underneath the covers. What do you see? 2 legs, 2 arms. Do they move? Yes. Okay, then get up. Do you know what that means? In mom's speech, it translates into stop being a little bitch. You have a house, you have food, you can move your body, you better do something with it, right? I'm not raising a fucking loser. You're going to get out there and you're going to become someone because you have everything that you need to be able to actually do that. And she was correct, and it also applies to you. Look down, what do you see? Do you see an able body? Okay, then shut the fuck up about your genetics, because it's an insult to all of the people who don't have it. Do you think about these people who are born without legs? Do you think about these people who die at the age of 2 of leukemia? They can complain about their genetics. You can't. You have everything that you've ever needed to actually get stuff done. And if you don't, it's your fault. It was no one else's. On top of that, you have the luxury to lift weights. Do you ever stop for a second and think about it? We go to a place to lift heavy things without anyone around us forcing us. There's no slave master behind me in the gym telling me to pick that shit up. I do that because of me, because I want it out of my own volition. Do you understand how great that is? There are people in countries that from the age of 6 have to pick up bricks 12 hours a day. They don't want to do that shit. You are most likely born in a Western country or a country that's not doing too bad. You have that freedom. Enjoy that freedom. Why is it that the majority of black-pilled people are from Western countries? Well, I think that it's quite simple. It's because your life is too comfortable. You have it too easy, your life is way too sweet, and you didn't have a mom like me who struggled to remind you that that comfort was earned by someone else. Meaning also that you are most likely going to be the person to end that comfort. You hear people say all the time that strong men create good times and good times create weak men that create bad times. We are not in the bad times yet, we are still in the good times. But we are the generation and the people that are going to create these bad times for the future generations. And that is because of that comfort that made you forget, again, how blessed you are. And to fix that, I think that a very easy way is gratefulness. Be grateful for what you have. That is actually the way to make it. People who make it realize how lucky they have it. How many times have you recognized that in your own life? How many times do you stop to realize what you have? Stop focusing on what you don't have. What you don't have, you don't have. It doesn't matter. Focus on the things you can actually influence in your life, and that is going to make it much easier to actually move forward. But it's, of course, more convenient to blame nature. Because keep in mind that when you complain about genetics, yes, you first off, you insult your ancestors, but you also complain to nature. Nature doesn't listen to you. Nature doesn't really care. It just made you. You're part of it, but that's it. Did you think that you are going to be able to call a representative and to get a reimbursement because you don't have top-tier genetics? It doesn't work like that. You're essentially complaining to a cosmic force. It's like bumping into a rock and insulting the rock. It's a rock. It's not sentient. It's the same when you tell people that, oh, I didn't go to the gym because of X reason. That's bullshit. What you're doing is you are essentially telling yourself that you're disappointed in yourself because you don't have good genetics. Do you think that this is breeding a proper and positive mindset? No. It's again apathy. It's just reinforcing that cycle of non-action where you become more and more miserable because you feel more and more miserable about what you've been given. Instead, look at that cosmic energy and that nature as a great blessing, and whatever you got from it, be very happy with it because it could have been worse, and move on with your life. When people use that argument, you always have some asshole who say, well, just because my life is not as bad as this African kid who's starving doesn't mean that I can't complain. You're right, you get to complain, but keep in mind one thing, complaining does nothing for your situation. It's not about the African kid, it's about you. Are you doing things to do better? When you say, oh, my life is terrible, okay, good. Thank you for telling me I don't give a fuck. What do you do to make it better? Because keep in mind that complaining makes you feel better about it. Because you feel like you're acting on it, but you're not. So zip your mouth and actually get stuff done. If you want to make it, that's the way to go. But instead, many people, what they do is they do absolutely nothing and they become resentful. They become resentful towards the wood. Whatever that fucking means, the wood. Like people around you are plotting to your demise. Like nature itself decided when it made you that you are going to be born ugly or short or you're going to have all of these disadvantages, these shitty genetics. No one plotted that. It was random. When an act is random, you cannot point the finger at someone. The only thing you can do is you can deal with it. I'm not even telling you to hate yourself. That would be just as stupid because hating yourself would be like hating nature. There's no point. Instead, just do with what you've been given the best that you can do. Play with the cards you've been given. When you play poker and you get a bad hand, do you complain? No, if you're a good player, good players play with their hands. They play the best they can and they wait for a better hand to play better. This is the way life is also played. Life is also like a game of poker. But if you're the player that always complains about variance and the fact that they're not lucky, what ends up happening is you start to despise the game, and in this allegory you start to despise the wood, and at that point your chance of making it is 0%. Because of course, how could you succeed at this game when you've started to hate it? Now, out of spite, you're not going to want to participate, and that's what we see with black-pilled people. They've stopped trying. Being black-pilled means you stopped trying. And when you do that, of course, good things are never going to happen. So I guess that's better. I guess it's better to be in a hole full of puke and shit because at least you don't have to swim up. I don't understand that logic, but for some of you it seems to make a ton of sense, and you seem to be very happy playing in your own puke. So continue doing that as I move on to point number 9, which is you're entitled. You're an entitled brat. So many of you are so fucking entitled. It makes me want to claw your eyes out. Seriously, in the comments sometimes, it's like you forget that, 1, I don't owe you shit. 2, I'm giving you things to make your life better. And it's like giving a toy to a baby and the toy is not exactly like the baby wanted, so they toss it away. And now they cry because they don't have the toy. I'm not going to pick up the toy and give it to you again. I'm not going to make a toy to your liking. Stop being so entitled. You don't deserve nothing. I don't know where that lie came from in Western society in particular, that you were owed something. I think it's because of the way society is set up with so-called equality and the fact that everyone deserves a chance and fair opportunities. That's nonsense. That's artificial. That's not natural. That's not real life. You don't deserve shit. You're not owed anything in this life. The fact that you even get to live is already amazing. You have water and food, that's more than you can ask for. Whatever is added afterwards, it's already a bonus. Anything else, you're going to have to fight for. And if you're not willing to fight for it, you're never going to get it. But of course, if you just shrug your shoulders and say, well, I deserve it, I'm entitled to it, you're faced with people who don't believe that, and therefore who go out and earn things because they know it's supposed to be earned. And what do you do when you see that? How do you react when you see someone who obtains something you desire? Well, because of the way you think about the world, or you think things are just supposed to fall into your lap, you get jealous. Because you think, oh man, that guy didn't work for that. He got it for free. That is not fair. I deserve that thing as well. I should have it as well. That's genetics. The amount of time I see people say, oh, he has good genetics, it's not fair. Even if that were true, which most likely it's not, he just worked harder than you, it's just random. Why are you complaining about this? It's like complaining that you lost the lottery. It's not skill-based, moron. Of course, it's random. That mindset shows who you are. People who are envious and jealous, it shows that you don't get it. You don't get the way life is. If you knew how the game is played, you would look at someone with better gains or a better physique or something that you want and think to yourself, okay, if they got it by legitimate means, I have to learn from them. I have to see how they obtained them. But to be able to do that, you would, again, need to achieve an internal locus of control, something that they have, and the ability to think that to get better things in life, to better your life, you have to go out and you have to get it. But if you're spoiled and envious, your first idea again is that this person cheated to get that, because the only way for you to get that would be to cheat, because you bought into the idea that hard work does not exist, that hard work is useless, and it all comes from luck. And this is the black pill. It's what I explained to you. You essentially created a worldview for yourself in which the only way to make it again is luck, and therefore because you don't have luck, apparently nature despises you, so you don't have luck, you don't have good genetics, well now you're shit out of luck. For real, because what is the other way out? Right? If the only way you can obtain what you desire is randomness and you don't have it, and work does nothing, it's your personal hell. You will never be able to climb out of that. Like you're in that puddle of puke and you told yourself there's no rope. And you look at people who are living a good life up there, outside, in nature, eating fruits or whatever, frolicking in the pasture, in the sun, and you tell yourself, wow, lucky bastards. Well, you put yourself down there, and you have convinced yourself that you can climb up. It's all your making. This is the black pill summarized. The black pill is not honest, it's not the truth, it's certainly not a way to break through the illusion. It's just an additional illusion to feel better about the fact that it's your fault. Whatever your life is your fault. Notice how the black pill never does that. When they do point the finger at you, it sort of mimics an actual responsibility shift, but it never really is, because they always point out to things outside of your control. All of that to make you feel better. All of that to spare your feelings at the cost and expense of your actual life. You are protecting your emotions like the weak creature that you are. All of that because if you did not do that, you would have to face the harsh reality, and the reality is that you did this to yourself, right? The path to responsibility is the path up. It's not easy, you have to climb up. The black pill, you go downward. You go down into the abyss. And maybe it's easier to walk back into the darkness, but it's not going to be your happiness at the bottom, I can guarantee you that. All of it is based on your own laziness and unwillingness to actually do the work. It's very easy to do a bitch and hate yourself. We all went through it. Like the emo phase when you're 12-year-old and you watch fucking Linkin Park AMVs on YouTube. I went through that. You're supposed to grow through that. And the funniest part is that the Black Pearl looks at this dark and silly period of a teenager's life and they think that this is what life is. They think that this is what the truth is and the rest is illusion. All of this waddling in self-pity ultimately has one goal and one goal only, and that is to do nothing. This is ultimately what the Black Pearl is. The Black Pearl keeps you static. It keeps you frozen in time because it's what you wanted, right? This is why you're never going to make it. It's because I doubt that you actually want to make it because you just end up mopping all day. It's like a dark hole. It attracts people who are doing bad and then it keeps them in that situation. It's like a parasite. But it's a parasite that the people who are part in feeds. They feed it because they don't know anything beyond that. Most likely you don't know anything beyond that. The energy you should be using to climb up the rope, you use for that bullshit mopping that just reinforces your shitty view of the wood. You come out of this, look at your life around you. Did something change? No, the only thing that happened is you felt slightly better for a second. This is all in the realm of emotion, just like the Black Pearl. This is childish. You would rather feel better than be better. And this is why you're never going to make it. Those who are dedicated are willing to feel bad, to feel pain, and to feel discomfort because they know that at the end of the day, this is the price to pay. They're willing to take these negative emotions. You dodge negative emotions, which paradoxically also means that you're constantly stuck in negative emotions. You embrace what I call fake negativity. The Black Pearl is fake negativity because it's not real. It doesn't lead to action or changes. What I'm doing right now is real negativity. Real negativity has its place on this earth and on this platform because it pushes people to action. If you have recognized yourself in any of these item points, you most likely feel uncomfortable. And this is good. This is that type of discomfort you must seek because this is what is showing you your actual flaws. Not the bullshit one you made up that are outside of your control. This is the truth. But instead, many of you actively seek out quote-unquote negative voices that make you feel better about yourself. Isn't that a problem? Don't you think that if these people are actually there to show you the truth of this world and to show you your real shadow and your real bad sides, you would actually feel bad? And because these voices match exactly the way you feel about yourself, they also comfort you because it feels like you're being heard for the first time. But what do they do with that? What do they do with that kinship? Well, they do absolutely nothing. They keep you there. They want to keep you there because that's where they are as well. I've told you that in the past. Don't take advice from roaches. Take advice from lions. Take advice from the type of people you want to resemble. When you listen to someone who's black-pilled, what are the chances the guy is going to improve your life? He's black-pilled. He's given up. The only thing he can teach you is how to give up as well. At no point does this count as being real. It's just called being a coward. Giving up is never the right choice ever. Regardless of your situation, if you give up on hope, you have lost. Right there. Actual bravery would be to look at the way you feel about yourself, look at that very real self-hatred and try to turn it into an energy to better yourself. The goal is to move away from that self-hatred. There is a way to move away from that self-hatred, but instead, many of you just double down and you make it a part of your character. Like you think it's cute. It's cute that you don't like yourself. It's cute that you've given up. So if you're the type of person that is attracted by these negative voices because they remind you of the way you feel about yourself, hence why you clicked on this video, this is now the moment for you to reflect and think about the way this made you feel. I just fed you real negativity, positive negativity, the one that has a chance to actually help you change your life. How do you react to it? Most likely it made you feel bad because I try to push back responsibility onto your own lap. If you keep listening to people who, again, allow you to relinquish responsibility and always feed you excuses like a kid, you're going to remain a baby for the rest of your existence. Think about the way this made you feel and then transform that feeling into the type of energy you need to change your life. Revisit these points as many times as possible. This is the only way to actually make it. And if you're unwilling and you're just going to retreat back into your old habits, feel bad about yourself, waddle in self-pity and say, why, it's not my fault. then guess what? You're never going to make it because you never deserved to make it in the first place. It won't be because of your genetics, it won't be because of the wood, it won't be because of your parents, it won't be because of anyone else but yourself, and that is what I'm going to end this video with and what you're going to have to sleep with at night. Thank you for watching, have a good day.